All right, welcome racers. This is a level 3 class of the XGR Racing School. This is considered an expert class, and it is focused on racing against other racers. So we're going to be teaching students how to race against each other throughout different scenarios. Keep in mind that surviving the starting grid and surviving the first lap of every race are both the scariest and the hardest parts. So if you can make it over that hurdle, it's going to be smooth sailing from there if you know what you're doing. The 6 topics we're going to go over today are Topic 1, Logistics, Rules, and Racer Etiquette. Topic 2, Nerves and Mentality. Topic 3, Starting Grid Strategies. Topic 4, Tunnel Vision. Topic 5, Overtaking. And Topic 6, Miscellaneous. All right, so topic 1. For every race that we do, we follow some rules and etiquette. Um, there is a rule book that exists that was made for the Stanton Cup, which is the biggest racing event that we have here in XGR. A lot of the different races that we do are modeled not only off the cup, but the rules that we follow are pretty similar to this rule book. So feel free to read this on your own time. It goes over everything you need to know in great detail, specifically for the Stanton Cup. But I do want to go over and highlight some things that we generally follow for every type of race that we do. So ships. So the ships that are allowed are going to be dependent on the type of race that you do. So for example, for the Stanton Cup, these are the permitted ships: the M50, 350R, P72, the Mustang Gamma, and the Base Racer. Typically for a Pro-Am race, it is only one ship that is allowed for everybody, or at least one type of ship. Uh, so like for example, the Kaplan Stadium Pro-Am that we did recently, all of the Mustang variants were allowed. We also did a pirate race that was Drake themed, so only Drake ships were allowed. So just keep that in mind. The ships that are allowed are going to vary depending on what race you're in. Generally, weapon use is strictly prohibited, so definitely recommend just completely taking your weapons off, as well as missiles and missile racks, to make your ship much lighter so that you have a higher thrust power to weight ratio. Collisions. Intentional collisions are strictly prohibited um, and will be judged by race officials. Accidental collisions are not penalized. They will happen, and they do happen quite often. So accidental collisions are okay. Racers are to remain professional at all times. No horseplay or unsportsmanlike behavior. Track cutting. If a racer is cutting through a track, they will receive a warning by the race director. If it is by accident, or if you just get lost, or if you G-lock during a turn, or if it happens during a collision, just get back on the track as quickly as possible. Repeated intentional track cutting offenses will be penalized accordingly. Racers who are about to get lapped. So if a racer is about to get lapped by the race leaders, they are strongly suggested to hold their line to avoid any unpredictable behavior. And this is to avoid compromising the race leaders. And protests and appeals are done after a race. So the different types of race formats that we do are Pro-Am, Stanton Cup, All-Stars, etc. So for the Pro-Am, there's going to be a number of heats depending on how many racers show up. If you're a heat winner, you sit out for the remainder of the heats and then you qualify for the pro race. If you do not win a heat, you're going to keep racing throughout the heats to try to win one. And if after all the heats are done, if you don't win a heat, you're just going to race in the amateur race. The Stanton Cup race. So the Stanton Cup, there's going to be it's generally 10 heats. So if you win a heat, you sit out for the remainder of the heats. and you will lock yourself a position in the front of the starting grid. And if you don't win a heat, just keep trying until you try to win a heat. After the 10 heats are done, you are going to start in the back of the starting grid. So there's going to be a big gap or two groups between all the heat winners and everyone else. There are three main races for each Stanton Cup race, and the wherever you how well you place in each of the three races will determine how many points you accumulate. So first place gets 1 point, second place gets 2 points, third place gets 3 points, etc. And if the whole goal for that day is to accumulate the least amount of points as possible, so whoever has the least points will be the winner for that day. Um, After the three main events are done. And then there are the All Stars, which usually happen uh, over the course of several tracks. One of the things that we experimented with recently was a qualifying session, very similar to Formula One. So with the qualifying, it's just one lap. Try to do it as fast as you can, and that will determine the starting grid. So the person with the fastest lap time during the qualifying session is in the front of the starting grid, and so on. So that's just a quick rundown of the different race formats that XGR is currently doing. For some tracks like the Snake Pit and in the future Uterby Icebreaker, pretty much any track that has an outpost. For racing events, there will be a Carrack or an 890 out there so that you can set your spawn in, so that if a racer dies, they just spawn in the ICU bed inside the ship, and then you could get back to the track as quickly as possible. Um, if you plan to log out, just make sure that if you die, please clear the ICU bed as to not clog it up. It is advisable that you quit the game rather than Alt F4ing, because if you're on the ICU bed and you just Alt F4, you're going to clog it up for a long period of time. So don't want to screw over the other racers. As far as spawning a ship in the small landing pads in an outpost, if you spawn a ship and you see that all the landing pads are currently full, and you see that you're in a queue on the console screen, just be patient. Don't keep trying to spam it and spawning a ship, because you will break the console if you do that. So that's a quick rundown of topic one.